So patch 1.3 for LONGSPEAR has actually been released, and with it has actually brought a whole bunch of changes, and a lot of those ended up being some combat balancing adjustments, so a lot of the weapons have just been reworked. So for today, I just want to highlight some weapon combinations that are just now newer and improved due to the recent patch benefiting these greatly. Now I'm not going to cover every single one of these changes, but the three most important ones will be the ones that you see on screen right now. Basically what it's done is actually try and realign the balancing to make heavier handles and quicker blade combinations a lot more in tune and in line with heavier blades and quicker handle combinations, because before the patch, heavier blades with quicker handles meant that you had faster movesets, good damage, really good blocking, and much better guard regain. But these changes have actually now brought it more in line. The first one, now relatively lighter blades will gain more guard regain, while heavier blades will gain less guard regain. 2, decrease the delay after an attack and the time to charge a charge attack for some heavy handles, and now some heavier handles will have a faster attack speed depending on the assembled blade. So basically what this means is that you have just better recovery animations with your heavy attacks, you end up getting faster heavy attacks, and when you actually pair these heavier handles with quicker types of blades, you end up just getting faster attack speeds in general, at least more so than what it was before. So these changes are really nice, and it has brought it in line with the heavy blade, lighter handle type of combinations. So now you probably end up getting faster speeds, and you probably end up getting guard regain, but the benefit of having a heavier blade and a quicker handle means you probably end up getting more damage in one hit, and you still end up getting better blocking as well. And obviously quicker blades are going to be a lot lighter, so you're going to have more of that equipment load to spend on things like heavier defensive parts for better defenses, and probably some special amulets as well. But for today, I want to highlight 3 different weapon combinations that have benefited greatly with these changes. And if you guys have your own foundings, just let me know down in the comments. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's get started. Okay, so the first combination of which I want to talk about is the WINTRY Rapier's blade alongside the City LONGSPEAR handle. Now the handle is actually going to be kind of like a medium weight type of handle. It's not too heavy or light, but it does actually offer the poking attack moveset and have some very nice range on top of that. And its Fable art is Concentrate, which for one Fable charge, you actually boost your damage by roughly 15% for about 15 seconds. Now with a normal sized blade, the moveset isn't actually too quick, it's still pretty basic. But alongside the WINTRY Rapier's handle, as you can see, the moveset is just ridiculously quick, and it is going to make for one of the better technique handles in the entire game. But yeah, as you can see, those light attack combos and those heavy attacks, especially those running heavy attacks and charged heavies, are honestly very reminiscent of the Trident of the Covenant, which is like one of the best weapons in the entire game. So having this as an alternative is honestly a very solid option. And the Fable art of the WINTRY's Rapier blade is Storm Stab, which actually is a very nice flurry attack that actually can output some very nice DPS, and paired alongside the very nice range that the LONGSPEAR handle gets, it honestly makes for just a solid overall weapon. Now for some of the downsides that I have of this thing, the Rapier blade isn't going to be the highest damaging, nor does it have the best guard damage reduction. But now with the increased guard regain that you get with quicker blades, and the fact that it is actually light enough to make this handle have the quicker moveset, which is going to be like much more in line than what you get with a dagger, and the fact that it just gets more range and more damage than a dagger, it's actually going to be a very solid option and a nice pairing alongside the LONGSPEAR handle. But in terms of turning this weapon into a build, it's just going to be a technique-based weapon, so just go all into your dexterity. And I definitely recommend pairing it alongside the Armor of God amulet, because you just end up getting more damage with every single successive attack, and the fact that it can attack very quickly, it's going to be a very solid pairing. Now as for the locations, the City LONGSPEAR you acquire it at the Barren Swamp, which you acquire it through the cave and past the rafters. It should actually be found in a chest. And as for the WINTRY Rapier, you can get this one very early on, basically off the very first merchant that you see in the first area in the game. You can just purchase it off him, and it is also a starting weapon if you actually went with the dexterity based starting class. Now next weapon combination I want to highlight is the Tyrant Murderer's Dagger blade alongside the Spear of the Honor handle. Now the Spear of the Honor handle is going to be on the heavier side, weighing at 5.4, and obviously it's going to have a slower type of moveset, but pairing it alongside a dagger, it actually turns it into some respectable speeds. Now the light attack combos is going to be some horizontal swipes, but the heavy attack is what makes this very unique in that it does some really cool charging attack that like spins the weapon over and over again, and it hits multiple times, which actually can pair nicely with critical attack builds and some status effect build-up builds. Now as for its Fable art, Rush Swing, it's basically like a different version of the heavy attack, where it end up doing more damage and actually end up getting a follow-up swing to finish off with as well. But as for our blades, the Tyrant Murderer's Dagger, this one obviously is extremely light, so it's going to make the weapon moveset be really fast, especially with those heavy attacks. It's going to have like a lot less of a starting up animation and quicker recovery animations. But the reason why I chose this dagger over the other ones is because this one actually does get some critical rate damage, which basically means that with this blade innately you have a 30% chance to just do 50% more damage with every single hit. And with its Fable art grinds, it actually further improves this chance. It actually just buffs it for an additional 15 to 20 seconds, of which you have a 30% more of a chance to actually proc that critical attack. But the reason why this pairs nicely with the Honor handle is that your heavy attacks just hit multiple times and consecutively. So you just have a much better chance to just proc proc that critical rate damage, of which your total overall damage is going to be ridiculous. As now with the recent patch being that you get better guard regain with a lighter blade, and you also get increased recovery frames, faster heavy attacks, it's definitely going to make for one of the better weapon combinations in the game now. Now, as for the downsides, the obvious one being is that the dagger is just not going to have much range at all. But the good thing about it is that it's not going to really like deflect off any walls, and your heavy attack already gets a very nice lunge. So that does kind of mitigate a lot of the range issues that you actually would get with a blade like this. But as for making a build around this thing, being that the handle does actually have a technique-based scaling, once again, just go all into your technique. Also paired alongside the Armor of God amulet because you're hitting multiple times very quickly, so you just end up getting a bunch more damage that way. And definitely paired alongside the Assassin's amulet, which will just further increase your critical attack damage by just an additional 25%. So basically the way to look at it is that after you use the Fable Art grind, paired alongside the Armor of God amulet and the Assassin's amulet, you basically have the chance to do like over 150% more damage with almost every single swing, which is just ridiculous. Actually, almost every single hit. Now, as for the locations, the Spear of Honor is acquired at Area 7 in the Lorenzi Arcade. Once you go down to the Acid Gas Filled Hall, it should be towards the end in a safe. Now, as for the Tyrant's Murderer's Dagger, you actually can purchase this off Pulcinella once you do give him one Avinity box collection, and you will be able to purchase it for 2,000 Ogre. Now, as for the last weapon combination I want to cover, we have the Bramble curved sword blade with the live puppet's axe handle. Now, one thing with the gameplay, I only have this open at +4, so it's not upgraded at all. So actually I'm going to have a different type of blade to showcase the gameplay, which is going to work very similar anyway, but just thought I'd let you guys know that. But as for this combination, the handle, the live puppet's axe, is actually going to be the heaviest handle in the game at 7.5 weight, and actually has a very slow moveset, which you end up getting those horizontal swipes with the heavy attack and the light attack. As for the charged heavy, you do this really cool like downward slam as well. Now with a heavier blade or just a regular sized blade, you actually just gonna have a very, very slow moveset. But now with a quicker type of blade, it actually turns it into a ridiculously quick moveset, which is very nice. Now this axe handle also does get the Endure Fable Art, which basically like allows you to just tank a whole bunch of attacks. You just get like 90% increased damage reduction, so you're barely gonna just get damage at all. So if there's a particular type of attack or fury attack you're just struggling to dodge, you could just use this thing. But as for the blade, I went with the Bramble curved sword, which the reason why I paired this one is because it's going to actually get the most damage while still retaining that very quick moveset. Out of all the swords and the daggers of what you can use, this one ends up getting the most damage. You get the best damage reduction rate. You also get the best charge pulse cell stat and the best Fable charge stat as well. And alongside with this, you actually do get the Storm/Fable Art, which is actually a pretty decent Fable Art. You just get a bunch of these flurry attacks that just do a nice amount of damage. But pairing this with any type of sword or dagger blade type is still going to be perfectly fine, because as you can see, the movesets of what you get with this is actually very nice. I recommend just keep spamming the heavy attacks over and over again, because as you can see, the heavy attacks are just as quick as the light attacks, but you just end up doing more damage, more stagger damage as well. But the best part about it is those insanely quick heavy attacks. You get a nice downward slam, you're going to do some very decent poise damage, and it's just really quick. Now in terms of making a build around this thing, being that it does have a motivity based scaling, just go all into your motivity stat. And in terms of amulets, I definitely recommend pairing it alongside the Conquering amulet, because being that those heavy attacks do come out nice and quick, you can just get a deflect and just get 20% more damage on your next hit. And you actually do gain a pretty decent benefit of actually blocking with this weapon, or at least trying to deflect, because you get that 50% damage reduction rate. And now once again with quicker blades having better guard regain, going into a more blocking deflecting type of playstyle is just going to be very beneficial with this weapon right here. Now as for the locations of these weapons, the Bramble curved sword, you acquire it in Area 5 at the Malum district of the merchants that is there. You can buy it off him for 2,000 Ogre. And as for the live puppet's axe, you acquire this one in Area 8 of the very first tower that has the ballista, and it should be in a chest next to the guy that's actually firing off those giant arrows. Anyway, that pretty much concludes it for this one. As always, please do like and subscribe, because I do have some more videos coming along the way, whether it be LONGSPEAR or FromSoft Souls game related. And just let me know down in the comments what type of weapon combinations that you found that actually are really nice with this recent patch. And do follow me on Twitch as well, because I actually should be live every single day. Anyway, see you guys in the next one. Bye!